Have you heard about this thing called television? It's an amazing medium, except I get so mad when Meryl Streep does it. Well, the biggest award show for television is coming up, and it's called the Emmys, so I thought I'd take a break from yapping about the Oscars. The Oscars. To go over some of the most underrated performances that didn't win an Emmy, snubs, if you will. Now, I do watch a lot of TV. I'm even an Emmy nominee this year. I bring it up sometimes. But since this is a special episode, I'm calling in a favor from a true fanatic. You may have heard of him. It's my Keep It co-host, Ira Madison III.
Thanks, Lewis. It's true. While I do love the Oscars, I went to parties in high school, and so I did not memorize everyone who was ever nominated for an Oscar. And so the Emmys are where it's at for me. So get ready, because I have more than a few thoughts.
Okay, let's cut right to it then. I'm Louis Virtel, and this is Trophy Strife, Emmys edition. The Emmys have been running for 75 years, and there's over 12 categories for acting, so we're going to focus on just one today. Best Actress in a Leading Role, Drama. January Jones in Mad Men, 2007 to 2015. In all of Mad Men, only one main actor won an Emmy for the show, and that was Jon Hamm. But there's an actress on the show who was basically maligned during her entire run of the show, and yet I find her to be the most memorable character in the entire thing, and that is Betty Draper. January Jones played Betty Draper. It is her signature role. She comes all the way from South Dakota, which I didn't even know was legal. Prior to Mad Men, she had roles in films like Anger Management, American Wedding, and Love Actually. But Betty Draper is what we'll remember her for now and forever. Sometimes as written, she is so plain-spoken about her aesthetically driven values, but the way she delivers the line, the curtness of the line, she can be suddenly so angry, suddenly so defensive. Routinely when I read reviews of this show, she's described as baby-like, but I think she just is kind of the original Karen of television. She's somebody who's constantly walking up to the manager and saying, "No, I was told this is the lifestyle I need to have, and I'm entitled to whatever I'm entitled to." Betty Draper was often derided as a two-dimensional character, but the way January Jones plays her, it's fascinating how two-dimensional she is. She is very defensive over these 1950s American values and her place in the home and what a wife should be and the advantages she wants to get out of that position. But the tragedy of Betty Draper is she doesn't evolve the way the other characters evolve on the show. And actually, her death on the show is not only tragic, it seems poetically inevitable. She can't move into the future the way so many other characters on the show move into the future. Now, let's be clear, she is up against some explosive competition in this category, including my favorite performance in the history of television, which is Glenn Close on Damages. She won twice, but there's lots of other biggies going on here. You've got your Kira Sedgwick in The Closer. You've got Viola Davis in How to Get Away with Murder. Basically, you've got characters who have explosive moments. People we're used to seeing boil over. People who can be broken down into one single Emmy scene that you just immediately want to vote for. January Jones, meanwhile, keeps everything sort of under wraps. She is a petulant person. She's a vain person. But in the world of Mad Men, she doesn't get the catharsis that so many other people do. So it doesn't often result in acting that is quantifiably huge. It's not like any undeserving people won, but I just think there was something really special about how January Jones handled this role. And frankly, she's the character I think about most when I think about Mad Men, because you would just look at her stony face, her lack of expression, and you'd be wondering what she was thinking in a way that I didn't do with other characters on that show. Mad Men also created its own style of acting that belongs within the confines of that show alone. So it's hard to say that January Jones or any of the actors on the show really belong on other TV shows. Obviously, someone like Elizabeth Moss has really broken out and through. But I don't think she needs to be on other TV shows again in order to be considered an icon. Nobody could have played this role the way she did.
Connie Britton in Friday Night Lights, 2006 to 2011. So Connie Britton got her start in theater at age 22 before she landed memorable roles on Ellen, Spin City, and The West Wing. She joined the cast of the new NBC show Friday Night Lights at age 39 in 2006. Well, let me tell you one thing about Tammy Taylor, okay? Tammy Taylor was the heart of Friday Night Lights. Obviously, there was a big ensemble cast in this TV show, but this was really like Connie Britton's breakout role. And as great as Kyle Chandler was on the show, the thing that grounded his character the most was the scenes that he would have with Connie Britton. It was never a big rating success, but it was a big critical success. I mean, people love this show. Critics love this show. People on internet forums love this show. Like, this was one of the most beloved shows on TV at the time. It even managed to stay a beloved TV show after a completely messy second season that was cut short because of the writer's strike, involving a murder mystery that was maybe one of the dumbest things I've ever seen on TV. As the series was wrapping up, it did finally get some Emmy nominations. It was nominated for Best Drama Series. Kyle Chandler was nominated for Best Actor in a Drama. And Jason Katims, the series creator, was nominated for Best Writing in a Drama Series. Jason Katims and Kyle Chandler won their Emmys, and that's about it. Connie Britton managed to garner a nomination for her role as Tammy Taylor in 2010 and 2011, but she didn't win. Now, the thing is, she was up against Kira Sedgwick in 2010, and I think you all know that, like, Kira Sedgwick is my girl, okay? I love The Closer. I actually just recently rewatched all of The Closer for no good reason. Kira Sedgwick, I'm gonna give her that Emmy. The Good Wife, on the other hand, Juliana Margulies. Maybe this is a bit of recency bias because Juliana Margulies has sort of revealed herself to be kind of awful. And the way that she treated Archie Punjabi on The Good Wife is not at all anything to be proud of. And there is the fact that Christine Baranski did not get an Emmy at all for her work on The Good Wife when she was really turning it out on that show. I'm going to go ahead and say that the Emmy that Connie Britton deserved was in 2011, and she should have taken Juliana Margulies'. Unlike other actors we talk about on this show who lose big awards then pivot to other types of projects, Connie Britton has remained on TV consistently since Friday Night Lights, and nominated further for shows like American Horror Story, I guess, Nashville, and The White Lotus. Now, out of all of those projects, I love The White Lotus. And actually, Connie Britton was in the first season of American Horror Story, which is the only good one. But Nashville, Raina James, that character, Nashville, when it was good, it was really fucking good. And that show, she absolutely deserved. I mean, one thing about Miss Connie Britton is that she is always racking up good-ass roles. So I definitely think that we are due for a Connie Britton win in the future. Obviously, Lewis and I are big fans of Connie Britton. She appeared on Keep It in 2022 to discuss her work on The White Lotus.
Elizabeth Moss in Mad Men, 2007 to 2015. Now, Elizabeth Moss has, of course, had a thriving career ever since Mad Men ended, but you may know her from being on The West Wing or Girl Interrupted. What a role in Girl Interrupted. Go ahead and check that out again. Also, Angelina Jolie, you better be amazing again real soon. But Mad Men really took her into the mainstream, and she played Peggy, a character who's remarkable for a number of reasons, but I would say in the history of television, no character had a better arc over a number of seasons than Peggy. Peggy is Mad Men's ambassador to the audience. We look at her eyes, we look at what she's thinking about, and we think, okay, that's probably us on the show. She's the one who's looking at Don Draper and making her own assumptions about him, trying to size him up. She goes from being an employee of his to basically a peer. And as we are going through the show, we relate to her the most out of all the other characters, even though we want to be Joan. It's fascinating watching Peggy with any of the other characters on this show. Her moments with Betty Draper, her moments with Don, her moments with Joan. She's kind of learning from everybody, but also finding a reservoir of integrity in herself that will lead her to success later in the show. I can't even pick a favorite moment from Peggy. And also, by the way, how is Vincent Kartheiser never nominated for this show? He is the definitive douchebag in television history. The problem with getting Elizabeth Moss a win for this show is, you know, like a Robert Altman movie, I think the strength of this movie is what an ensemble it is. Whereas if you look at the other actresses in these categories, Juliana Margulies is the star of The Good Wife. Glenn Close is the star of Damages. Even though there are other great actors on those shows, they are the reason you tune into those shows, singularly. In 2009, she was nominated in the lead category, but lost to Glenn Close in Damages. As you've already heard, I'm a big fan of that show. And Glenn Close being really angry and also austere and also, you know, a psycho. Have you seen that The Deliverance movie? Something is wrong with Glenn Close. Obviously, later on, she would go on to win an Emmy for The Handmaid's Tale, but I think that's telling because it's a proper, deeply dark, deeply dramatic drama. You don't leave that show without feeling devastated, whereas on Mad Men, there was a lot of ambiguity in the scenes on that show. Sometimes it would lean into tragedy, sometimes it would leave you with questions, and I think in that space, in that ambiguity, people maybe thought, well, I'll vote for the person who had more rage or more tears. Luckily for Elizabeth Moss, she's been amazing in all sorts of other projects like Us, Shirley, The French Dispatch. She was in The French Dispatch? I actually don't remember that at all. But there's plenty more to come for her.
Sarah Michelle Gellar in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, 1997 to 2003. The thing about Buffy the Vampire Slayer is it is the best show to ever be on television. That's one. And then two, it was sort of a landmark show just in the history of teen shows and horror on television. Sarah Michelle Gellar had been acting since age 6, working consistently in commercials, film, and theater. In 1995, she even won a daytime Emmy for her work on All My Children. She was 18 at the time, and then, of course, 2 years later, she was cast as a lead in a new teen drama for the WB, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and the rest is history. What's so amazing about Sarah Michelle Gellar is that it's as if creating an iconic character like Buffy wasn't enough, because she also starred in super big movies like I Know What You Did Last Summer, The Grudge, Scream 2, and the Scooby-Doo franchise, which is fantastic, by the way. Shout out to James Gunn. She is no one-hit wonder. Buffy is such an important work to queer millennials. I mean, there are people like Jane Schoenbrunn, director of I Saw the TV Glow, Pat Regan, Evan Ross Katz. These are people who are always talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer and how important it was to them. I even have a whole essay in my book that comes out in February. So, like, Buffy is a show that has stuck with people and really means a lot to people. It's kind of crazy that the show never ever got any kind of acclaim from the industry. It was really due to the fact that the show was on the WB, which was a teen network and not one of the big networks that Emmy voters gave a fuck about at that time. Case in point, Gillian Anderson was nominated for and won in 1997 for her role as Dana Scully in The X-Files. And I think that if Buffy was on a network like Fox, maybe it would have stood a chance to get nominations. But let's talk about who got Emmys while Buffy the Vampire Slayer was on television. I've already said that Gillian Anderson deserved her Emmy for The X-Files in 1997, and obviously nobody was going to be nominating anything from Buffy for its first season. So that one is a complete wash. In 1998, Christine Lahti won for Chicago Hope. I love Christine Lahti. She is an amazing actress, fantastic in Evil, which just wrapped up its run on Paramount Plus, and she's amazing in the 1984 film Swing Shift, directed by Jonathan Demme, where she was nominated for Best Supporting Actress at the Oscars. So I'm gonna let Christine Lahti have that Emmy. I love her. Edie Falco in 1999 for The Sopranos. I mean, that's mother right there. So, all right. We can give Edie Falco that Emmy too. Celia Ward for Once and Again. Now, I love Celia Ward, and I do love Once and Again, but I will say that no one really talks about Once and Again at all anymore, except for me and Lewis on Keep It. So that's a show that hasn't really stood the test of time, and if Sarah Michelle Gellar had gotten an Emmy that year, I wouldn't be mad at it. I also wouldn't be mad at it if she got an Emmy the next year in 2001 when Edie Falco won again for The Sopranos. And I know that Edie Falco is that bitch, but 2001 is the year that the episodes The Gift and The Body aired on Buffy. And Sarah Michelle Gellar's work in The Body, when she finds her mother's dead body, and the entire episode is done without a soundtrack. It's really just the horror that comes from discovering that your parent died and having to get their body to the hospital, and then later going to visit them in the morgue. It's a really powerful episode of TV. And then The Gift is the season finale of Buffy's 5th season, where Sarah Michelle Gellar also turns in a knockout performance and then dies in the series before she's later resurrected in season 6 when the show moves from the WB to UPN. After that, you've got Allison Janney winning for The West Wing, and then Edie Falco winning for The Sopranos again. Girl, we get it. This is all to say that even if she didn't win one, I think it was egregious that Sarah Michelle Gellar was not nominated at least once in the span of Buffy being on television, but that really just goes to show that shows like Buffy really don't get the respect that they deserve from the television academy. And maybe they do now because streaming is more prevalent and genre shows do better at the Emmys now, but in the late 90s, early 2000s, when genre shows were mostly airing on networks like the WB or UPN, they got not a shred of respect from the industry when it came time to hand out awards.
Before my last snub, I just want to say subscribe below. We'll keep making more of these videos. Everyone will have a good time. Just do it. Michelle Dockery in Downton Abbey, 2010 to 2015. Michelle Dockery as Lady Mary on Downton Abbey is an unforgettable performance. And actually, there's something comparable to Betty Draper here, because it's just slight facial expressions she makes that are captivating, that you remember, that add an element of snideness to a scene that makes it all the more delicious. The interesting thing about Downton Abbey is that Maggie Smith won a couple of times for her role in the show as Violet Crawley, and she functions the same way Lady Mary does. She has these wonderful one-liners and wonderful turns of phrase and turns of cheek that are very memorable. But I have to say, and this goes for the Oscars too, awards for fabulous one-liner delivering characters are way likely to go to supporting characters than they are lead characters. I always say Barbra Streisand is only nominated for 2 acting Oscars for her leading roles. If she played these wisecracking characters in supporting roles, she'd have cleared the entire 1970s. She lost twice to Claire Danes in Homeland, and that's a cry face that nobody could compete with, male or female, so I don't blame her. And then in 2014, she lost to Juliana Margulies in The Good Wife, a highly acclaimed drama featuring an actress the Emmys love and have loved since she was back on ER, being killed off in the pilot and then winning her way on to the show. Here's the problem with Michelle Dockery on this show. Obviously, Downton Abbey is formally a drama, but all of Michelle Dockery's most iconic moments, not all of them, but most iconic moments, are pithy one-liners. Here's where I have to object to her not winning for this category, though. If you look at the history of the Best Actor in a Drama category, a hallmark of almost all the winners, going back to the 70s, and I'm talking about Telly Savalas, I'm talking about Lou Grant on the drama Lou Grant, snide one-liners are key to those people winning on those shows. In a way, I think we're used to investing in the drama of male characters more when they're funny, whereas when female characters are funny, they are less likely to win in this category. Fear not, though, the fabulous Michelle Dockery has since been nominated for lead actress in a limited series for Godless, which got another Emmy to the wonderful Merritt Wever. And did you know this? She even took over Faye Dunaway's role in the network stage version before Tatiana Maslany, another Emmy goddess, took it to Broadway. She didn't win for Godless, she lost to Regina King in 7 seconds, and Regina King deserves an additional Emmy nomination for her role on 227 back in the 80s, which did get an Emmy for Jack Hay. I could do this all day.
Sandra Oh in Grey's Anatomy from 2005 to 2014. I'm sorry, but when you think about Grey's Anatomy, I think about Christina Gang, okay? I think about Christina Gang getting out of that dress when she doesn't want to marry Burke, okay? I am in awe of everything that Sandra Oh ever did on Grey's Anatomy, and it is a shame that she was not considered a lead actress on that show, because she really, really made Grey's Anatomy. We missed her so much when she left Grey's Anatomy, like more than we missed anybody else who ever left that show. Sandra Oh had been active in theater, film, and TV since 1994 when she was 23 and had roles in a string of fantastic films just before Grey's Anatomy. She landed the role of Dr. Christina Yang in Grey's Anatomy in 2005. And with a show like that, where you have one star and many standouts in the ensemble, it kind of seems unfair that people like Sandra Oh would have only been eligible for supporting actress awards. Sandra Oh was nominated for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Drama Series at the Emmys in 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, and 2009. And though she never won, in 2005 she received the Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress in a Series, and in 2006 the SAG Award for Outstanding Performance by a Female Actor in a Drama Series. Which is all to say, if Sandra Oh had been nominated for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series, she definitely would have been walking home with an Emmy. Probably more than once. And let's point out that the alleged only lead of Grey's Anatomy, Ellen Pompeo, was never even nominated for an Emmy during her entire run on Grey's Anatomy, which means it was just sitting right there for Sandra Oh to take it. To this day, Sandra Oh still does not have an Emmy, and her 2018 hit Killing Eve led the way to an Emmy for her co-star Jodie Comer. But for Sandra Oh, she walked away from the ceremonies in 2018, 2019, 2020, and 22 with just a nomination and never a win. Now, when Sandra was nominated for Killing Eve, those were very, very competitive years. I mean, Claire Foy won for The Crown. Zendaya won twice. I think we could have given Zendaya just one Emmy, and I love Zendaya, but Euphoria? Let's be serious. Now, Katherine Heigl did win an Emmy for Grey's Anatomy, and even though that's the year that I would have given it to Sandra Oh, as we said, I would have given it to Sandra Oh in lead actress. I will let Katherine Heigl have that Emmy because honestly, she did her thing on Grey's Anatomy, okay? Izzy, I'm gonna give her a 10s.
Thank you for watching Trophy Strife. If you like this video, then you're going to love Keep It, the podcast hosted by yours truly and somebody named Ira. We're giving our predictions for this year's Emmys in our episode this week, so definitely tune in and make sure to comment below your most unforgettable Emmy snubs for dramatic actresses, including me, the most dramatic actress of all.